it's the perfect time to be back because we're about to engage in a really intriguing fireside conversation here where we're going to be exploring Nestlé's Income Accelerator program and its impact on cocoa farming families. Ladies and gentlemen, this conversation is hosted by Nestlé. Please welcome to stage Business Executive Director, Confectionery, Nestlé East and Southern Africa region, Zumi Njongwe, to stage. Hi, Zumi. So good to have you as a part of this wonderful, wonderful conference and really exciting conversation that we're going to be delving into right now. First of all, can you tell us about the historical inequality that exists in the cocoa farming sector and also talk about the risks that this sector faces if these historical inequalities are not addressed?
Thank you for having me. Hello to everybody. I'm sure a lot of you will know that our very lovely snack is made out of cocoa, so we sell a lot of chocolates. And what we've known in the past, we source a lot of our cocoa from Ivory Coast and Ghana. For those who don't know, about 70% of it is sourced from there. When we've looked in the past at how cocoa has been sourced, we've found a lot of inequalities when it comes to gender diversification of sourcing of cocoa, some risks around child labor in the farms because a lot of this cocoa is grown in rural areas. And of course, income that these families earn. So as an industry, actually, not just us Nestlé, across the board, we've taken a lot of steps to try and resolve some of those challenges going forward. A study that was done in 2019 has shown that there was a great disparity in the income of women-headed farms versus male-headed farms. And a lot of these countries, actually, the males own the land, and so the wives work as partners, but they didn't benefit from that income. So when we looked at our Nestlé Cocoa Plan, part of it was around resolving some of those inequalities and disparities, together, of course, with child labor, right? How did we, as a corporate and a business, intervene to ensure that we drive and develop schooling, child schooling, so that those children are not working in the farms in order for the families to be earning a living? So those are just some of the challenges that we've noticed.
Can you tell us about this Income Accelerator program, right? This is something that Nestlé has. How is the program transforming the lives of these cocoa farming families and also unlocking opportunities for growth in the sector?
Yeah, so I love this Income Accelerator program because it really has a couple of pillars in it. The first pillar is encouraging school going of children. We incentivize farmers and their families to send their children to school so that the labor is done by adults. And of course, when we do that, we actually incentivize them with a monetary incentive. So that's the first pillar. We've seen a massive increase in 75% of the children now going to schools versus 68% before we started this program. So that's the first pillar. The second pillar is really around driving agroforestry. What does that mean? It's just a fancy way of saying we help the farmers to be able to till and run the land in a way that is much more productive to them, so that the trees make much more cocoa than what they used to. So we've got teams that go in there, they help them with the pruning. It's so interesting, when I started in this business, a lot of the farmers think when they prune their trees, they're actually killing them, but actually it's the opposite. So there's a lot of education that has to be done about how they can get better yields by really pruning the trees. And that obviously then generates incremental income. So that's the agroforestry piece. And then the final piece is diversification of income. A lot of you will be listening to the news and you've heard about the soaring prices of cocoa. So you better get your chocolates quickly. But what that does is we help them to diversify outside of cocoa, fruits, vegetables, other areas of income. As we've seen with climate change, it has been having a vast impact on the yield of cocoa, which is driving up the pricing. So that is really important, and they're able to get other income from other sources of income apart from cocoa. And that just helps to mitigate the risk.
Tell us about the importance of creating shared value across these cocoa growing regions on the continent.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about shared value because for us, what's important is really driving regenerative cultural practices, agricultural practices rather. And shared value really stems from helping our communities, the farmers, to grow much more and make more money for themselves and their families. That just really exacerbates or accelerates their growth in their business. We also talk about, obviously, that helps us as a business because we get more cocoa to make chocolate. So it is a mutually beneficial relationship, and you don't get the one without the other. And we have recognized that we have a critical role to play downstream in that sourcing of the cocoa product and helping those farmers really drive. And of course, this industry is a big GDP contributor in a lot of these markets. And so for us, that's really important, that shared value is shared between community, between business, as well as social initiatives that we are doing.
I know that at the heart, and what really is the driving force of this program, is a commitment to sustainable development, yes? Why is this essential to the operations of Nestlé?
Man, we make chocolate, right? And we want to continue to do so. I mentioned earlier the news and what's happening on the cocoa prices. So the most recent development really is that we're seeing massive increases on cocoa pricing. It's a supply and demand issue. We have more demand than we have supply. And that's because of the weather climate change. They didn't have enough rains in Ivory Coast and Ghana, and so the yields are much less than what we had in the past. So what you're seeing is cocoa prices going up. If we don't drive that shared value, what happens is that we now need to then, it puts a risk on the business, but also for the livelihoods of those people. So we have to find a way to really help them, despite the climate change impact that we are seeing, to really drive that change going forward. Of course, we wish we could control the weather. We can do our part as corporates to do what we can, but it also means that we need to be doing more as an industry to drive that innovation, to help them with the yields and what they need to do to drive that resolution of the issue.
Responsible sourcing, social impact. Why are these the cornerstones of Nestlé's company's operations?
Responsible sourcing really talks to how we procure all of our materials, right? It is important because it gives us, we talk about, really providing brands that are for now, but also for generations to come. If you don't have responsible sourcing, you are not able to do that. Even if it has a P&L impact for us, that is not the issue. We plan for that, but it is important because if we don't do it, then tomorrow we will not have that raw materials that comes into the business, which obviously has a ripple effect across the board. So responsible sourcing on cocoa, but responsible sourcing across the value chain really speaks to what our perspective is around driving that shared value philosophy. And so that Income Accelerator program is one way for us to do it. And what's special about it is the financial incentive to the farmer for them to do those three things. Send your kids to school, diversify your plants and your business, and of course improve your agroforestry principles.
I'm really concerned. I love chocolate, so I'm really concerned about the rising prices. Tell us about the future. What does that hold for cocoa communities?
Look, the next 18 months are going to be tough. We are not foreseeing a change, for the better. Crops take time to grow, right? It takes them 12 to 18 months to harvest. They're going into the next harvest now in April, but there is basically about a 25% deficit between what we need as an industry and what they can provide. And so there is going to be some pressure in the system over the next year, or so. We don't foresee that changing. Hopefully, with all of these interventions and innovations that we're doing around helping to resolve some of these agricultural practices, we're hoping that that has a massive impact in 2026. And so we will have to be much more innovative in how we come around that problem and how we take out cost in the rest of our business in order to be managing that pricing.
Wow. Okay. Thank you so much for giving us more information about this Income Accelerator program. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Zumi and for Nestlé.